Secretary Clinton has referred to in her remarks to us. And that is engage, either as volunteers, in work. There are ways that Jose Villarreal has talked a lot about his dream of having Mexican-American youth to go to work, study programs, spend summers. I was recently, and I told Henry Cisneros, Jose Antonio, and Jose about it at a dinner recently. I was really excited about a cooperative of coffee producers, small coffee producers in Puebla, who have ecotourism cooperatives, who have savings and loan cooperatives. They're doing a lot of interesting things, and they said they would love to have volunteers, young people coming from the United States, and it's a safe place. It's in the northeastern part of Puebla. So I think these kinds of people-to-people exchanges are something that the U.S.-Mexico Foundation and the Mali Initiative are going to promote. Other, obviously, funds. People who don't have, we can actually take funds from people who want to engage with civil society, and you could, earmark them for an education project, or a health project, or an economic development project. You could earmark it for a regional area that you might be interested in. Cities that are being hit by violence and criminality, particularly in the north part of Mexico. All of those things are possible through donations and contributions. Ambassador Sarukan has left us, but this morning he talked to us about an interesting program where Mexican youth it's a program that the U.S. Embassy has, are coming to the United States to learn here how to organize in their communities. It's a program called Jóvenes para Jóvenes, something like that, I think. Anyway, it's a group of 50 kids that comes every summer and learns how to do grassroots organizations, organizing back in their community. So these are the kinds of things that the U.S.-Mexico Foundation and the Mali Initiative are going to be promoting and supporting more of.
Any other ideas about how could people in this room and outside?
If I could take what David talked to us about this morning, one of the missions of Mali is also to help strengthen civil society organizations. In fact, with the amount of federal, state, municipal funds flowing into Ciudad Juarez with USAID mission, also there's a lot of funds that are pouring in, and we have a lot of groups that are not formally asociaciones civiles, but we have youth groups, we have just a lot of groups that can't legally use those funds. So we're in the process, as the International Youth Foundation, along with INPUVE, we're going to start on May 28th a process of profesionalización of 40 youth groups and converting them into civil society organizations that are registered and can use those funds and implement projects. So we're working on that together. Support from Mali Initiative for those types of training programs would be most welcome. I can't help but plug the International Youth Foundation. We've started the program in Ciudad Juarez with safe spaces. We have over 4,000 beneficiaries in those safe spaces, be it camps or be it after-school programs. We're moving into life skills. We're going to be developing an employability and entrepreneurship. Maybe we can partner with micro-enterprise development, because I think that that's one of the keys, particularly in the Ciudad Juarez context, that we have to explore Banco del Pobre or other micro-enterprise initiatives. So we've been able to leverage about $5 for every dollar we've invested of USAID IYF funds. So we've been quite successful, and I think it's by creating those bridges and partnerships and alliances and being strategic about our philanthropy that we can have the most impact, rather than the isolated initiatives, trying to be part of a wider, larger scale initiative.
Maria, if you allow me to add something. One of the things we have promised to do, and I think it's important to say this, we have said for the funds that we mobilize in the United States and send to Mexico through the U.S.-Mexico Foundation, we are committing to a dollar-for-dollar matching by Mexican foundations, so that these become true binational partnerships. And that way we're mobilizing more funds to get to the grassroots organizations and the civil society organizations and the economic development programs and the education and health programs. So I think that's important to mention.
Monica, you wanted to?
Yes, I really like what Alfredo in the previous panel said in terms of helping to lobby for the country that we want in Mexico. I think it's very important what it's now called the boomerang effect. I mean, you go outside and you push for reforms even from the outside. And I think people in this room can help do that. I mean, I think it's really important to engage people with influence in the US because, I mean, media, US media influences Mexican politicians, Mexican reforms. I think leaders and as well give legitimacy to certain reforms. So it's very important that that you participate in this type of changes and movements. And I mean, I can tell you about as well the coalition if someone's interested.
And you're going to be speaking about it tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow in Common Cause, and I can give all the information to whoever wants.
But let me push a little on that. Do you really think, we spoke in the earlier panel about what we've gone through as Mexican Americans and the view of Mexicanos of us, do you really think that people in Mexico, let's say opinion leaders, are going to be very welcoming of people like me or elected officials, Mexican Americans saying, you ought to be doing X, or why is there not, why aren't you changing the laws for NGOs? Or, I mean,
I think it is very important. And I remember the Fox campaign really started using this transnational politics. I remember the campaign giving some telephone cards for the families to call. And, the migrant outside is a very influential person within the family. So I remember at that time, it was such a strategic question to do. I mean, such a strategic action to call home and say, whom are you voting for? I mean, you should vote for this. I think it's a very small example, but it really has the power of the influence, of the legitimacy, of how things should be done in many ways, that people in Mexico are always looking towards the migrant, towards the people that left, but are sending money back and have done well in the US. The big camionetas that Efrain was telling are a very powerful sign of who's doing things well. So,
Isabel, ¿querías decir algo?
Yo agregaría a un par de cosas. Es cierto que las organizaciones de migrantes en los Estados Unidos tienen más poder de convocatoria a los políticos que los mexicanos que están del otro lado. Porque cualquier noticia en Estados Unidos tiene mayor impacto que en México. Entonces, yo creo que si queremos hacer algo para ayudar a fortalecer la sociedad civil binacional, tenemos que apoyar a que los migrantes organizados puedan tener más influencia en México, pero no en programas 3x1, porque han pasado enviando sus donativos a programas donde el gobierno pone muy poco dinero. Déjenme poner un ejemplo muy concreto. El programa 3x1 hace 2 años recibió 100 millones de presupuesto